In this module, we're going to get a little bit more specific about some diet-related approaches to obesity. And again, I wanted to frame this unit with some of the recommendations that are found in that clinical practice guidelines from Obesity Canada and the number of obesity doctors across the country. And I really want to focus kind of on these first three recommendations that really focus on nutritional therapy, nutritional recommendations being individualized to the person, and ideally by someone who knows what they're talking about. Ideally perhaps a registered dietitian or someone that has worked in nutrition practice for a while, or isn't just following the latest fad, but is using evidence-based knowledge to inform the recommendations that are done on an individualization. Another big note that is recommended in this section is about nutritional therapy for obesity is one thing, but if an individual with obesity also has diabetes, also has impaired blood lipids, also has other risk factors or comorbidities, again, we want to individualize those approaches. Right? We want to, for instance, if someone has type 2 diabetes and obesity, there might be a little bit more emphasis on managing the glycemic response or managing blood sugar in general. Okay, so again, individualization of approaches is what this slide really gets at. What this section is not going to do is tell you what diet is best for an individual with obesity, because it really depends on the person. There is one foundational concept that is important to know to inform obesity management that is focused on reducing fat mass, and that's the concept of a hypocaloric diet. One that promotes a caloric deficit, where the amount of calories a person is taking in is less than they are expending, and that caloric deficit over time, not after 1 week, but over time, and the time depends on the person, but over time that caloric deficit should lead to a drop in fat mass, the amount of fat that's being stored in our adipocytes, and accordingly to weight as well. In addition, with someone with obesity, there are, as with anyone, as someone that's pregnant, as someone that's at a later stage of life, there are some foundational nutrition properties that hold. So making sure the diet is balanced. There is enough of the different types of nutrients. They're getting enough vitamins and minerals. There's no micronutrient deficiencies, but also they're getting a balanced amount of carbohydrates, proteins, and fat. Potentially within the acceptable macronutrient distribution range. That's usually what we work within. We want to make sure they're getting enough of what they need. Again, micronutrient deficiencies might be more common in obesity. Having a variety of food to make sure that the diet is adequate as well. Lots of plants, because plants are full of fiber and phytochemicals, both of which have potential disease-reducing properties. Less processed food, more whole foods. Nutrient density as well. I forgot to put that concept in here, that we want to make sure that the foods that people are making are like packed full of nutrients for the amount of calories they have, instead of a lot of empty calories like a lot of us consume. Dietary principles go beyond just what to eat. It's also about how to eat as well, and how to prepare food. So when we're working with people, we could tell them that this type of food is great, but if they don't know how to cook, they don't know how to prepare food, they don't know where to find that food, that might be more of a focus for us. Focusing on cooking skills, on how to shop properly for healthier varieties of food. General recommendation is to stick to that outer aisles, those outer sides of the grocery store where there's more fresh foods and less processed ones. Perhaps help reading a nutrition label, but if there's one thing to focus on, it's the total calorie of the food. Also, I'm a big fan of eating foods that don't have nutritional labels, like unpackaged foods. And then monitoring as well might be really important for a person with obesity. So using apps like MyFitnessPal, depends on the person, but that could be helpful. Writing down what they eat. This can also help them be aware of their food intake patterns, and feedback is really powerful for promoting behavior change. Okay. And I also wanted to just focus a little bit on hunger management and appetite management. And in particular, I wanted to highlight some foods that are more satiety promoting and can help manage some of those higher hunger signals that we often see for various epigenetic, genetic, and physiological reasons in individuals with obesity. Okay? So protein is one of the main things that we see as part of a diet that is potentially focused on weight loss. Protein, the main reason protein can help with weight loss is that it can help promote a caloric deficit because protein-rich foods are more satiating. They fill us up more. There's a lot of evidence to support this. We've known this for a while, is that protein-rich foods tend to be more satisfying. If you're a person that always feels hungry, like me, protein is an important part of the diet to help manage those hunger levels. Protein also has a higher thermic effect. And remember, part of our energy expenditure per day, part of that is the thermic effect of foods, and we actually expend more calories processing proteins than the other macronutrients. Plus, amino acids are important for the metabolism of lipids and protein, and lipids and carbohydrates. So that's another reason why this diet that's higher in protein, I don't mean like 50% protein, I could mean like 20% protein, or 25% protein. A diet that's richer in protein could help with the management of those hunger cues. Okay. Fiber is also, there's been lots of studies over the years on that satiety promoting effect of fiber. Okay. There has long been a link between dietary fiber intake and reduced risk for obesity. And a 2017 review of 12 randomized controlled trials that used various durations of dietary fiber also showed that fiber was important for managing weight. So for instance, individuals who were overweight or obese and increased their soluble fiber consumption saw an average reduction in BMI of about 0.84, okay, which was about a 5 pound, 6 pound reduction in weight. Okay, and fiber is great for managing blood sugars. Insoluble fiber is great for digestive health. Fiber is king. I love fiber. Okay. Conversely, some of the things that can negatively affect appetite or make someone a lot more hungry is a focus on ultra-processed foods. So for instance, foods that are higher in refined carbohydrates, refined sugars, these I've heard it framed and I like this. They kind of trick the body. The body's like, what is this? I know how to process normal food, but what is this? So when we consume these ultra-processed foods, they tend to kind of trick the body in as far as its appetite sensing and satiety sensing patterns. And diets that are higher in ultra-processed foods are well established to increase the risk of obesity, perhaps because of a higher promotion of appetite, probably a higher reward driving factor as well. Okay. As a side note, ultra-processed foods are also associated with higher risk of cardiovascular disease and all-cause mortality as well. So it's a really good thing to reduce. This is, I think I took this picture somewhere in Europe. I was walking by and I saw this in a storefront and I'm like, oh my God, that's like the perfect picture of ultra-processed foods. These are foods that are significantly modified from their original source. So they often come in brightly colored packages. They often have a lot of added sugar, added sodium, added fat, a lot of added preservatives to improve shelf life. And these are the kind of foods, like I mentioned, that are associated with a higher risk of obesity and other comorbidities. When it comes to sugar, I know sugar gets a bad name, but as far as the evidence base, what has the most evidence to support it with respect to sugar is sugar-sweetened beverages and obesity. There is a pretty robust body of evidence that shows that higher consumptions of tongue twister. Higher consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages is associated with a higher risk of obesity. Okay, so for instance, the pooled relative risk of obesity in patients consuming sugar-sweetened beverages in this meta-analysis of epidemiological studies was about 20% higher than in people that didn't consume those. And what's interesting is that even with artificially sweetened beverages, like Diet Coke, for instance, the pooled relative risk of obesity was actually even higher. Okay, and that's, you could argue that might be a chicken or the egg thing. Like, is it that individuals with obesity are more likely to consume artificially sweetened beverages, or are those artificially sweetened beverages promoting obesity? That's hard to establish that from an epidemiological study, but what's clear is whether naturally sweetened or artificially sweetened, these sugar sweetened beverages are one of the things that are associated with obesity in our population. Okay, so I've given you guys some foundational nutritional principles that are associated with managing obesity. Okay, I am not going to go through every potential weight loss strategy, fad diet, you could call some of these things that are out there, and try to tell you that it's good or not. You can go out there in any of these diets, you could go out there and you could cherry pick results about like, oh look, this diet works for obesity in this case. But when we actually look at the evidence on balance, none of these are necessarily superior to each other. There's not enough of an evidence base that any of these strategies are necessarily superior to each other for sustainable weight loss and weight maintenance. Okay? And some of these weight loss strategies, they're really restrictive in nature. Like, for instance, intermittent fasting, you restrict the amount of hours you can eat in a day. And some people that works, and I'm not here to judge people's diets, but it's one thing to do something for yourself. It's another thing to counsel other people on things. Okay, and it's really about what's going to work for that person. The keto diet works for some people. Again, the problem with the keto diet is it kind of depends on how you do that. And a lot of people on this very low carb diet, like less than 20 grams of carbs a day in some cases, that's more extreme forms of keto. But in those forms of keto, a lot of people, or some people, might get to that low carb status by really restricting vegetables, really restricting fruits, really restricting plants of any kind, which we know are full of fiber, which we know are full of phytochemicals. And they might lean towards really like ultra processed forms of, let's say, animal products, like bacon is advocated for in the keto diet often, and that is a highly processed animal product, and we know that ultra processed animal products, like ultra processed foods, increase risk of disease. So kind of on balance, all I want to say about this is there's lots of different approaches. If you want to look through these, there's different considerations, different core principles, but they all work in the same damn way. There is no diet that is absolutely superior to another one as far as weight reduction. Okay, what's important is if we're working with someone, we find something that works for them and is sustainable, and it's based on core evidence-based foundational nutritional principles. Okay, you don't need a commercial diet. You don't need to buy anything to be able to get into a caloric deficit. Okay, but again, I'm not here to judge. You got to do what works for you, but I just want to caution you when you're working with other people that you don't take kind of what works for you and think it's going to work for them. Okay, and we want to make sure what we're recommending does satisfy nutritional needs per balance, variety, nutrient density, and of course moderation as well. Okay, so I said I wasn't going to focus on anything in particular, but I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about a different type of strategy, which is not a weight loss strategy. It's not marketed as that. It's something called intuitive eating, and intuitive eating is really more so about fixing the relationship with food as opposed to losing weight. But I just wanted to present this because this one's different enough from these other strategies that it's just worth mentioning. And intuitive eating was developed by dietitians, I think in the 80s, in the 90s, I forget, but it's gaining a lot of speed these days. And really the main focus of intuitive eating is about rejecting diet culture, not doing things for other people, not like listening to the latest diet trend, but really more tapping into the body, tapping into the body's own hunger cues, appetite cues, respecting these cues, getting to know them, making peace with food, challenging those diet restricted associated messages that are out there, and more kind of based on this like kindness and compassionate building of a relationship with food and a respect for our body. Okay, they do notice that when I talk about movement and actual nutrition, that's kind of the last of their recommendations. And again, this is not a weight loss strategy, but it's important to note that not everyone with obesity is trying to lose weight, and not everyone with obesity has a weight-based approach. There are different approaches. Okay, so for some people, it's just about getting healthy, not necessarily about losing weight. And part of getting healthy is also making peace with yourself and making peace with your mental health too. Okay, so this is another potential strategy that someone, if you're working with someone with obesity, might be something that you tap into if they don't want to have a weight-centric approach. Intuitive eating, like I mentioned, it's not great for weight loss. That's not its goal. Its goal, like I said, is about making peace with food. What it tends to be really good for is for helping individuals with binge eating disorder. Okay, so as it says right here, a 1 point higher intuitive eating score at baseline was associated with a 74% lower odds of binge eating in this pretty large 8-year study into intuitive eating. Okay, intuitive eating also has been shown to improve depressive symptoms, improve self-esteem, body dissatisfaction, and unhealthy weight control behaviors. Okay, so I wanted to present that as well as another potential diet-related, maybe diet-adjacent strategy that you might choose to employ for yourself, or if you are working with individuals with obesity that don't want to have a weight-centric approach. But ultimately, when we are working with people with obesity, what's important is that we get to know them and we get to work with them and help them discover what's going to work best for them. If weight loss is their goal, number one foundational concept is a caloric deficit. How that is achieved differs for each person. Okay, and we want to find something that's going to work with their lifestyle, that's actually sustainable, that's actually realistic, instead of having them jump on the latest fad, move from fad to fad, breaking down their self-confidence and their self-esteem along the path. And I believe the ultimate goal is to help individuals with obesity or without obesity to just enjoy their lives more and to live a better life. That can be achieved through better health, but remember, physical health is just one part of the health. There's also mental health and there's also social health. So how do we promote physical well-being while also considering mental and social well-being as well? If we get to know our person and respect our person and work with their strengths and kind of bring in these foundational nutrition and dietary concepts where appropriate, it can really help fix a lot of the food-related issues that person might have. Okay, in the next unit, we're going to start looking a little bit at physical activity with respect to obesity management.